Welcome to NFL Daily, where the best slate of the NFL season delivered in Week 14. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. My name's Gregg Rosenthal, and I'm with my caffeinated friend, Patrick Claybon, and my other, I don't know if you're caffeinated or not, friend, Jourdan Rodrigue. It happened. We came into this week on the schedule, 5 monster games on the slate for division lead, playoff lead, another game that was Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. And we're going to hit all those games in this very recap, and it's going to lead to a great Monday night.
I am caffeinated also.
And we're just going to get right to it today.
Let's do it.
I honestly don't want to mess around. We'll be wrapping up the show with the big Sunday night game, Texans Chiefs, but I think there's only one place we can start today, and that is at Lambeau Field.
They get motion to the tight end to the right. Fake to Swift, bootlegging left. Williams looking, the floats the end zone. It's intercepted. An interception. A leaping interception by Keyshawn Nixon. And there is your dagger. In a Lambeau leap to the south end zone stands. 22 seconds to go. And the Packers have hung on.
Oh, they wanted it, and they got it. A late takeaway by Keyshawn Nixon. So many big defensive plays this year by that very cornerback. Stops a Bears drive. Packers hold on 28-21. Caleb Williams has a play call, which they ran very similar to the Bears game just a couple weeks ago. They hit that for a touchdown. He's late on the throw. It doesn't work out in this game, and the Packers defense holds on and takes over first place of the NFC North.
And it's Keyshawn Nixon, who was benched for like a couple of plays earlier in the game because he was on the brunt end of a Matt LaFleur rage burst because of an unnecessary roughness penalty. This game was nuts because the Bears had a chance to come down the field, and at least you're thinking about tying it, but it's Ben Johnson, and he had already gone for a couple of like sort of FU plays earlier in the game, including the most demoralizing third and long screen you'll ever see. And you had to think Ben Johnson's going for 2 if they score here.
Yeah, the strategy at the end of the game, we can start there, was interesting because Ben Johnson essentially chose to run the clock on himself before that play, and Matt LaFleur was okay with it. And I think it could have cost the Bears because if they had gotten first down on that play, then they wouldn't have had as many plays to try to go win the game, but maybe he knew they were going for the win that whole time. Everything is setting up for that play call. That's dangerous. Then again, I think he made a great play call because Caleb Williams needs to throw that ball quicker.
Yeah, you could throw the ball quicker, and also it's a tough play, but we've seen Caleb make these types of plays because DJ Moore was coming open late as everybody crashed in on Caleb, where he could flip that over the linebacker and hit him, at the very least get the first down. But you need the touchdown at that point because you're thinking, and I'm sure because we were having the discussion in the newsroom, do you get the touchdown late, try to get the 2-point conversion, get out of here on the road with a win? But all that goes away when you start the play sequence with 1 minute and 31 seconds, and then you're thinking clock, not necessarily first down, and you're in a gotta-have-it situation on 4th down with under 45 seconds to go. It was so different just a few minutes before that.
It's too bad because I think Caleb Williams played a really good second half. Obviously, their offense was running the ball really well. They went touchdown, field goal, touchdown before getting down inside the red zone at the end. But when you saw the angle, Komet's open. He's pretty wide open right away, where it's like a quick decision throw. And that's the push and pull with Caleb Williams, who I think is playing well. He has a lot of, holy hell, that's amazing plays, but you look at his time to throw today, it's like 3.4, and that was maybe the difference between him and Jordan Love on a day where Jordan Love looked like a veteran.
Jordan Love looked awesome, and he's got a number 1 receiver, guys. Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns in this game. I want us to listen to the first one because it just was a great moment, just the daintiest of placement. Snowflake football, placed it right into his gloves for a touchdown as lightly as a snowflake falling.
Here's the snap. Blitz on. They pick it up initially. Lofts the middle. Going for Watson. Yes. Got it. Touchdown. Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson took it away from Kevin Byard, and the Packers strike first. 23-yard touchdown pass.
I love that play so much, not only because it gave Packers fans the Lambeau leap that they were just jonesing for the entire time, and what a cool environment, too. It didn't quite snow flurry. It did in the morning earlier, and fans helped shovel the stands, and the field gets cleared, and it feels like 10 degrees for most of the game, according to the broadcast. And that's Christian Watson. That was his 4th touchdown in 4 games. He went on to score a 5th touchdown in the same game off a really pretty little man beater that Matt LaFleur designed up. And Jourdan Love just had no fear. Like we're used to him playing at his very best, at his quarterback island best.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because this was Jourdan Love. The first touchdown, he's got 7 defenders pressuring him. And first of all, don't blitz Jourdan Love. He's going to do great things. He's got great pressure beaters. He's got a great offensive line. He's got great outlets, and he's got great scheme. So perchance do not blitz him. And the Bears backed off. On that second, they were in man-to-man across the stack and across the field. And then the Packers adjusted again to get Christian Watson these opportunities. And, it was a really, really well-called game from both sides. But I give Matt LaFleur the edge in this one because they went run-pass, and especially run when they needed to the most.
And so Dennis Allen, whose defense has looked really good in these past couple of weeks, where they were in bend and then break your heart mode, and then they were just full-on break your heart mode, locking everybody down. They get in that Christian Watson touchdown, that first Christian Watson touchdown. They have him 3rd and 10 and a chance to get off the field, and they send the blitz. Against the blitz, Jourdan Love was 8 of 11 with 2 touchdowns and a passer rating of 150.
Here's the thing, though.
Leave 10 alone.
It comes down to players, though, and the Bears just don't have a pass rush. They are hurt either way. Like on the second touchdown, which to me is just the perfect Jourdan Love throw because no one can throw it that far with that ease.
Yeah.
To put the ball on the air under it. And Jalen Johnson kind of, his eyes are bad on that play. They're in zone on that play, and he allows the defender to get, behind him and everything, and Brisker tries to make up for it. Once again, I think Tom Brady's getting a little better. He was pointing that out. And I just love how these two teams are so different, and we saw in tough conditions that this style of Packers can work because Josh Jacobs finished out the game well and was a big reason they won. But ultimately, you got Jourdan Love throwing 12.1 yards average depth of target in this game. Bombs away compared to a Bears team which has a 60% success rate, which runs the ball down the Packers' throat, really took over the line of scrimmage in the second half of this game, but they didn't have 138 yards. They didn't have a single run over 10 yards this whole game. So it was all just like 5 and 4 and 6 and patience. And those two styles made a great fight, and we're going to get to see another one in a couple weeks.
I know, and I loved it, and I wonder if it almost flips the next time around because each team will perhaps try to do the opposite thing of what they just did. The Bears' offensive line, I don't think we have to continue to give them their flowers for the way that they can just choose to run the ball in a deficit in adverse moments. They put together a 17-play, 83-yard scoring drive that took over 8 minutes off the clock. And I mentioned that screen. When you're running it like that and your offensive linemen are feeling space the way that the Bears' offensive linemen were, and you're Ben Johnson, and you got a little mean streak in you, what are you going to do on 3rd and very long but run the most mean-spirited, bullying screen that just it sets up a touchdown, and it's 21-21 at that point. But then Josh Jacobs says, "Okay, guys, hold my frozen beer. I'm going to run the ball down your throats." He cuts on a blade of grass, of frozen tundra grass on 3rd and 2 and picks up 21 and sets up his own touchdown. I mean, it was just these teams. I love this game. I know you can't tell.
You mentioned the physicality. If you're watching us on YouTube, we love you. Subscribe to the episode. There's a play where Monungai and Edgerrin Cooper collide, just a massive hit from Cooper in the second quarter of this game, and you see the helmet fly off Monungai's like a piece of the helmet.
They both lose paint on the play.
It is absolutely ridiculous, and that is like the type of hitting. This is some real man football, and we ended with
real ball.
Yeah,
when then
gender essentialism.
We ended with like a very handshake at the end. So I think it was like a perfect combination. Matt LaFleur running.
It was the range of society.
It was.
You could be anything.
Matt LaFleur just doing a drive-by on that handshake. I love it because we should have set it up during the week. Ben Johnson had those quotes that he can't wait to. He's really enjoyed over the years beating Matt LaFleur twice. Well, he's not going to beat him twice this year. Patrick.
And
They tried harder.
Matt LaFleur remembered, and that's why he ran 57 yards across the field to give a quick handshake that he would love talking about after the game.
Yeah, I wanted to say what LaFleur said. He said, it was a quick handshake, and we'll see them again in 2 weeks. I think there are no good losses, and we do got to move on. But I think the Bears coming back in this game, their run game traveling, that it was this tight, that like these two teams look pretty even to me. It's not a good loss, but they keep passing tests. And to me, I don't think any differently about the Bears, even though they fell from the 1 seed to the 7th seed. The NFC is bananas right now. With one loss, they fell from 1 to 7.
And not that anyone cares, but behind the Texans, this Packers defense is my favorite defense to watch in the NFL. Carl Brooks made a play tonight off a trick handoff to DJ Moore, where if you go back and watch it in slow motion, you can see him read, react, diagnose, adjust his massive body to change his direction in but a millisecond and make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. That's this entire Packers defense. Smart, physical, well-coached, aggressive, special.
And people will, of course, criticize Caleb on that final play. The Packers were all over that play call because it wasn't the exact same formation, but the execution and where the receivers ended up being the same place that they hit the touchdown to Philadelphia. And folks thinking that Caleb should have run, Edgerrin Cooper had the corner on him.
Oh, but he should have thrown it right away.
Yeah, he should have thrown it fast.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking Caleb could have got to the line to gain, 56 was there.
Yeah, and we learned a few things just about how they're going to use players. Jaden Reed was back in this game and made a difference. That was good to see. 4 catches, 31 yards. Bo Melton played more on offense than Marcus Golden and who else and Dontavian Wick. So that was interesting. The personnel usage, and yes, only one of these teams has Micah Parsons. 8 pressures in this game, the same amount as the entire Bears team combined. So big win.
Multiple monster hole. Against him, by the way, Packers fans, don't freak out. Like, geez, that arm, he had an arm wrapped around his neck on the last 2 scramble plays.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness, guys, what are we doing?
LaFleur complained a bit afterwards, saying, I don't know what a hold is anymore, but I know what a first place team looks like. It looks like the Green Bay Packers. So the first place was decided in 1 North Division. It was also decided, for now, in Baltimore.
Clark and Ramsey back inside their own 15-yard line and even retreating as the ball is snapped to Lamar Jackson. Rush coming from the backside. He's hit and taken down. It's Highsmith with the sack back at the 38-yard line, and that will do it. The Steelers come to M&T Bank Stadium and win 27-22, and they are back in first place by themselves in the AFC North.
Fitting ending there. Great call by Rob King on WDVE. The Steelers survive 27-22 against the Ravens, and I say that it was fitting, Patrick, because I think Lamar Jackson in this offense needed to turn back into the old Ravens offense to get out of there with a win. And for a while, it looked like they were going to do it. They finished the second quarter with a touchdown drive. They're driving throughout the second half, but they can't finish the drives, whether it was officials getting in their way or their running game getting in their way, or in that case, Lamar Jackson holding the ball too long and not operating a 2-minute drill very well, getting in their way. There were flashes from this Ravens offense of looking special again, but ultimately it was a pretty balanced effort by a game Steelers team. I'm giving them a lot of credit for pulling out this game in Baltimore, a game that we did not expect would go this way.
Yeah, we got to go back a few weeks to Week 8 for a Aaron Rodgers completion with 10 or more air yards. And they get it against a defense that's kind of strong.
They got 3 over 20 in this game.
That's just wealth right there.
A defense that struggled to make plays on the ball late. You know, the last play of the game, the Ravens are in a Hail Mary situation. They're in 12 personnel. Lamar's holding the ball. Nobody's at the 10-yard line even yet because you got 2 tight ends on the field, and you know he's waiting. He's holding the ball too long, which was, as you pointed out, the curse of the last drive. But it's difficult to look away from the game because clearly, you know, there's stripes involved every single play, and you'd like to make the plays, but there were a couple of key ones in this game that have you questioning the way things go in the book.
So there was an unnecessary roughness call on a Steelers field goal which was very confusing and led to the Steelers scoring a touchdown. And that was one play that was just a curious call. It happened. Also, there's no rule that the Ravens defense just has to lay down and give up a touchdown there. The Steelers offense did a good job.
Extra downs help.
Similar to how the end of the game played out. And yes, the Isaiah Likely overturned touchdown with under 3 minutes to go is one of the most controversial calls to me of the season. It's 1st and 10. There's about 2 minutes and 43 seconds left to go. The Ravens are coming from behind. They're down 5 points at this point, and it looks like they take the lead. And Likely catches the ball. He takes 2 steps. Maybe he got the 3rd down. Maybe he didn't. But the ball gets poked out there, and they decide upon review to overturn the touchdown. After the game, the NFL did release a statement, the Pool Report, and they said he did not get his 3rd step down. And the problem I have with that is it's so close, and you're supposed to have clear and obvious evidence to overturn the call. And that's my problem with it. Like, if they had called that on the field, it's a bang-bang play. Mistakes are going to happen. I do not understand them overturning that call. This is crazy.
Yeah, it looks too close to make an actual decision on it for me. And, you kind of got to be Greg Olsen to get that one, I guess.
Oh, wow. She did it.
She loved it.
She said it in the newsroom, and she said it again.
Because it's a great line.
It's an amazing line.
There was also the play where Aaron Rodgers had a ball tipped back, and he catches it. They give Aaron Rodgers credit for catching the ball and having his knees on the ground, which I'm wondering, do you need to make a football move when you have knees on the ground? Or is
you don't. The play was over. I think that was the right call.
I think if you have possession in the end zone, the play is over.
I think that was the right call.
I need a ruling from the league about like anatomy in general, because 1 cheek equals 2 feet, but 3 feet does not. I just need a little bit more like body part clarity, I think, from the league off.
A lot is going on here, and yet I don't want it to get lost. The Aaron Rodgers played his best game of the season, front to back. And this is why this game was tough to have like one big takeaway, because I think the Ravens defense and their miscommunication and their total lack of a pass rush and them getting dominated, frankly, by the Steelers offense for 3/4 of this game is the biggest reason I believe that they lost. Then again, they did get 3 and outs in the 4th quarter and like set up the Ravens with a chance to get this comeback. But it was 27 points on only 6 drives. That's 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and 1 punt. And they did not get a quarterback hit in this game. They did not get a sack. On the Old Around the NFL podcast, that's called a Golston. They had a Golston in this game, and they couldn't get pressure when they didn't send anyone. And then when they did, actually, the Steelers were on their 3rd left tackle because they lost their left tackle. They also lost Darnell Washington to a concussion. And you see the Ravens kind of like see blood in the water, and they send the house. They go empty against Aaron Rodgers on a 3rd and long, and they don't get anywhere near him, and he hits Calvin Austin down the field. DK Metcalf goes for 7 and 148. And so, yeah, like they definitely got a good whistle. I'm not particularly confident that the Ravens defense would have gotten a stop if they called that a touchdown anyway. So I just think there's a lot that the Ravens and their fans, I'm sure, should be upset about when it comes to the Ravens, too, because it's just a team that is not playing well enough right now.
And the unfortunate thing about all those things, if the Ravens had purely played this well over the past couple of weeks, this might not have, they wouldn't be in this situation.
On offense.
On offense.
Not on defense, but yeah.
Well, on defense, especially on the Jaylen Warren screen pass where there's nobody on that side of the field. It wasn't even a screen, I don't think. It was just a swing to Jaylen Warren. He makes one guy miss, and like there's nobody for Pat Freiermuth.
Can we actually watch and listen to that play? We have that play because that was typical of what we were seeing in this game.
Warren is to the right of Rodgers in the shotgun. Gets a snap. Back to pass. Throws to Warren in the right flat. Wide open. Scooting down the right sideline. Has room. There is nobody there. And he's in for the score. Jaylen Warren, a short pass out to the flat. And he goes 38 yards in for the touchdown. Pittsburgh Steelers add to their lead here.
Not even touched.
Yeah, so you add in things like that. The nasty Rashad Bateman drop on 3rd and 4 in the red zone where it's, again, credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers for the pressures that they did get. T.J. Watt adds another great plays to his great resume. But there's aspects of this that were also a donation.
Sure, I agree. But you can't run the ball. And like I said, well, Rodgers played well. Like, for instance, there's like a 3rd and 1 escape early that he gets. He had 3 or 4 dimes in this game to DK. The one to Austin was a beautiful ball. He ran in for a touchdown, so he's making plays. And then on the other side, here's my stat. I had it circled.
Oh.
I didn't want to forget
I'm
it.
excited about this.
I didn't want to forget it. The Ravens had 18 runs, I believe, in the red zone today. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. However many runs they had in the red zone, and I will confirm it. Do you want to know their success rate on it, Patrick?
Tell me the success rate.
It's a big fat 0. 0. And that's where I think about that missed touchdown call at the end where, okay, you get likely, doesn't complete that play. They are set up on a 3rd and 2 on the 5 right after that because they have a good second down. And what does Derrick Henry and this offensive line do right after that? They lose 3 yards on the next play. And then Lamar has a chance to just make something special happen. He can't pull off a very difficult throw to Andrews. And there were a few times like that in this game where Lamar maybe had a chance to do something special, and he didn't particularly. I think he's looked much better in terms of his legs the last couple of games for what it's worth. He runs for 43 yards in this game, including a touchdown. He looks healthier, but I don't know. You can't run the ball, and you're letting Aaron Rodgers make plays all over you. I don't feel that bad.
This was the ultimate Gregg and Patrick game because not only did Aaron Rodgers play probably one of the best, if not his best game of the entire season, but also Jalen Warren got in the end zone. So everybody loses.
Well,
I lost. I mean, I was rooting for the Ravens. I'm not lying about it. But
the Jalen Warren thing is a joke. Neither Greg nor I enjoy Aaron Rodgers discount double checking and celebrating and being all saucy in the post.
But I do, yeah. I have to give credit where it's due.
Indeed.
Which
he did have some post game salt, I think, right? Aaron Rodgers did.
In terms of his hair color, or what are you talking about?
In terms of his attitude, I thought, didn't he? Don't we have some sound of him talking a little smack in the post game?
I'm sure it's out there.
We got Mike Tomlin sound. Let's listen to that.
I'm looking.
We knew what was on the line today, and that's why you go do business with a guy like Aaron for thick days like today. He's been there, done that guy. But beyond the experience component of it, he relishes it. You can just tell. And that's the benefit of having a guy like AR.
Chris Bobona's doing a great job filling in for the great Eric Roberts behind the glass. That one's on me. I take on that one. I read the rundown wrong.
Hey.
Also, I'm also having a thing.
Hey, sometimes Chip Kelly calls the wrong play in the huddle. You got to be able to figure it out on the field. That's what matters. That's what Chris Bobona did right there. And I was talking about giving credit, by the way, in terms of red zone stats.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Pizzuta, who's a great follow on Blue Sky, by the way, who works for FTN, gave me that stat in terms of 0% success rate in the red zone. So I wanted to give him credit, and I wanted to give credit to everything that happened in Buffalo. I think we got the game of the day, Bills and Bengals. So good that we got to bring Nick Shook into this show early. But first, let's hear from Chris Brown and Eric Wood on WGR.
Brown the lone setback, receiver to each side. And it's intercepted! Jumping up in the air is Bedford! Gets away from Burrow! 30, 20, 10, 5! Your AFC Defensive Player of the Week has done it again! Christian Bedford with a go-ahead touchdown!
Great call there by Chris Brown. Put that in the play calls of the year. Giving you more work, Babona. Somewhere, someone in the office of the Players of the Week office is like, yes, big pop in a big spot. Someone finally cares about our award.
We got a dedicated room for it.
Oh, yeah. It's just one guy's job. I sat really near him. Can't believe that's a full-time gig, especially in today's day and age. You get a pension.
That catches a Scud missile.
It's crazy. 39-34. Shook. I'm surprised we led with a defensive play. Because, man, this was a lot of great quarterback play, a lot of great offense. What stood out to you most in this courageous Bills victory?
Well, yeah, we start with the defensive play because that was the moment when I realized, and I think everybody in Highmark Stadium realized, oh my God, the Bills actually can win this game. Because for a good portion of this contest, Joe Burrow and the Bengals had a step and a half on the Bills. They had a 28-18 lead in the fourth quarter. They had 3 straight touchdown drives to start this game. They could not be stopped, and it was snowing pretty heavily for most of this game. Didn't affect him at all. Josh Allen also having a pretty good game. It was a great example of 2 quarterbacks overcoming inclement weather to find success, but the Bengals, they were better until that moment. And the moment right before it when Josh Allen faces a zero blitz, finds a running lane, and takes off through one of the widest spaces of open field you're going to find in an NFL field for a 40-yard touchdown. In just rapid fashion, the Bills went from being like, oh God, there's like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're really going to lose this game to the Bengals. The Bengals, who are so desperate, they need every win possible to keep their dwindling playoff hopes alive that we thought weren't even going to be a possibility before Joe Burrow came back. And instead, in a quick just transition of a couple of plays, the Bills are on top and they ride that wave all the way to victory. It was one of those games that felt like a playoff game between a team that was 8-4 versus a team that was 4-8. It was that much fun.
Well, it looked like a playoff game. The playoff game they played a couple years ago when the Bengals went in there and ran all over them. That they've been playing that game on NFL Network all weekend long. You mentioned the Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Let's hear it.
Here's the snap, back to pass, blitz coming. Allen steps up in the pocket. 40, 30, down to the 20. Allen looking for the end zone, and he's in for a 40-yard touchdown rip. The beast has been released. My goodness, what a touchdown run by Allen.
Oh, man, back to being one of the most successful plays in football, the Josh Allen run. And I just think considering where they were at with the injuries that their defense had, down a couple scores in this game, to respond the way they did and set up such a big game next week in New England is just, it's a big in terms of the story of this season and the story of the AFC. It also all but eliminates the Bengals from having a little hope.
I think it's good when you see a defense like this that's been through what they've been through, and certainly I've not been shy of criticizing them on that. And today, absolutely porous on third down, and that was a huge reason why the Bengals were able to stay in the game and to make the Bills play from behind through much of this game. But when your defense responds to something insane that your quarterback does, but doesn't just do that once, but does it time and time again, makes a couple of pivotal takeaway plays, splash plays at the end of the game when it matters, after Josh Allen, after the button has been pushed, right? You guys are always talking about when does Joe Brady up in the box just press the release?
That was
Josh
it.
Allen
That was
button.
him pressing the button.
Yes, and then the defense showed up in a big spot and returned the favor. That's better complementary football than we've seen from the Bills in a while.
Yeah, the biggest button moment here was it was 14-3, and the Bills had a goal-to-go situation, gets to fourth down, and they run of course, it's Joe Brady. It's a mesh alteration, and there's nobody open at the top of the drop. And it's classic Josh Allen. He's buying time. He fakes a defender back. He's rolling to his right, and he throws a seeing eye touchdown to Khalil Shakir that saves the game. Like it saves the game. And I'll say, like, Lamar's hurt. Mahomes, that's it in terms of making this like fadeaway throw, rolling to your right, like on fourth down. Where that's it. And there was also a Dalton Kincaid touchdown later in the game that happens within structure, and Josh didn't have to do all this. I feel like that's been the first one in weeks where it's been like that for the Buffalo Bills. Where it's 17, and as long as 17's there, they got a chance to do it.
Even the touchdown that they scored to essentially put this game away was out of structure. It was Allen suddenly has all day to throw. It's 4th and goal, and he finds Jackson Hawes for a 3-yard touchdown to give them an 11-point lead. An 11-point lead that seemed impossible just a few minutes earlier. The sequence that followed, that basically preceded the Benford play. Take this, for example. James Cook having a great year. They're riding him on the ground. Everything's cool. They're deep in Bengals territory. He fumbles the ball into the end zone. Bengals recover. Boom. There's their chance to score. Gone. Bengals respond with a touchdown drive. Mike Gesicki puts them up 28-18. And then all hell breaks loose with the Allen touchdown, the Benford pick 6. Then AJ Epinesa catches a deflected pass. They go down and score. That's the Hawes touchdown to give them suddenly a 39-28 lead. It just happened in such rapid succession, and I felt like it was an illustration of the difference between a team that has found success for the majority of the season, has overcome adversity, and has positioned themselves now at 9-4 to be in a great spot, versus a team that has tried to overcome adversity, has been held back so many times, and is ultimately not going to reach the postseason. And it's unfortunate for the Bengals.
Yep. Like, what a way for this Bengals season to essentially end, that you have a 28-18 point lead. I'm glad you pointed out the time element of this with 8 minutes left in this game, and you end up giving up 39 points. And I know 7 of those is on Joe Burrow and the offense, but it's just like another kick in the teeth. And you wanted at least to watch, Shook, that second T. Higgins touchdown. And while we do that, like, I want to let you wax on what this Bengals offense did today. Because you could argue this one-handed catch while T. Higgins is getting dragged down is not even the best T. Higgins touchdown of the game. His first quarter touchdown was absolutely ridiculous. This was an awesome game, but what did you see out of the Bengals offense and the Bills defense today?
An offense that was really fortunate to get T. Higgins back. An offense that almost lost T. Higgins again when he crashed down to the turf and had to be examined, checked for a concussion after his head hit the turf and he was frozen there, obviously. And they were just really fortunate to have him in there. But another example of how Joe Burrow elevates this team like exponentially. This is an offense that could put up points with Joe Flacco for certain stretches earlier in the season, but we saw over the last 2 or 3 starts that he had, they had struggled. Now they didn't have Jamar Chase in one game, and Higgins was in and out, whatever it might be. Burrow, at one point I thought, like, could he be, if he were able to lead them to the playoffs with performances like this, and this was a super impressive one until it all fell apart, could he potentially be in the running for MVP? Because that's how valuable he is to this team.
All right. Well, I'm not putting him in the conversation,
No,
but
he's
I
not
appreciate
now. They lost the
thought.
game. Doesn't matter.
Is that allowed? Do we have anything in? Well, they lost, but I'm saying if they had won this game in an alternate universe, I was allowing for the fact that the Steelers and Ravens are looking shaky enough that I was allowing for the fact Bengals could get back in it, but now I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, the point structure, it'd be
No.
impossible for Joe to be in the conversation.
Okay, so we've been mentioning Babona killing it behind the glass, the whole crew. That means Eric Roberts is in Buffalo, and we have a special message from Eric. I have not heard this yet. I'm looking forward to it.
NFL Daily, we're out here. They're blowing the field. It's snowing on us. Look at that. Hopefully this is sprinkled on top of a Bills win recap. If not, I'm going to sit here and freeze to my seat and contemplate life because I flew all the way out here for Joe Burrow to ruin my family vacation. You're probably running late, Greg. Take a break. Chris, Pavona, get him to break now. Go Bills, baby.
That is a real producer right there.
Eric, keep him warm by any means necessary.
That looks like an amazing scene. He knows that we're over time. He's telling me just get to your break and stop honking. But before I do that, I will say just check out Eric on Instagram because he had some great shots, great seats. Good job by the Roberts family. Whoever got those tickets, if it was Eric himself, way to go. And he saw some of the best plays of the game from up close. I was happy for him. And I'm happy it sets up an awesome game in the AFC East next week. Let's take a break. On the flip side, we're going to talk about a game that could help decide the AFC South. So many big ones today.
Chris, get him to break.
Dropping again, looking again. Fires in the right side of the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Jacoby Myers caught it in the right side of the end zone. A 14-yard scoring strike. What a throw.
What a throw. What a day for Trevor Lawrence. 36-19. The Jaguars roll over the Indianapolis Colts, take over first place in the AFC South. Feels like a long time ago the Colts were 7-1 and on top of the conference. That was Frank Frangie, by the way, on WJXL. Some people are saying Jacoby Myers, the best trade deadline pickup of the year, and in many years. That's some people. Where it was Patrick Claybon in the break leading up to it. Unfortunately, Jourdan, like as great as a Jaguars performance is, and we'll get to it, it did feel like the biggest news of this day was what happened with the Colts.
Yeah, so at that time, that put the Jaguars up 14-7. It was still a beautiful time when both teams were relatively healthy. They were going to compete, and this was going to be a ball game. Blows were being traded back and forth. But in the biggest game of the Colts season to date, they lose their quarterback, Daniel Jones, to an Achilles injury that Shane Steichen postgame did not have an official update on, but said does not look good. A non-contact injury on a throw in the first quarter, and he knew it immediately, and he slams his helmet down. And by halftime, he's in a boot on the sideline for the rest of the game, and it is an uphill climb for Riley Leonard at that point.
Yeah, and this Jaguars defense has been playing better.
They're playing great.
You had your eyes, on Riley Leonard the rest of the day, but to remind the listeners, Anthony Richardson suffers that freak injury with the exercise band that breaks his eye socket. We have no word on when or if he's going to be available again. So we'll just have to wait and see. Riley Leonard is a late round pick. Nate Tice's guy out of Notre Dame. But it's just hard to see this Colts team competing now. You remember, of course, they gave up their first round pick to the Jets to get Sauce Gardner. He is currently out with a calf injury. And suddenly some of these teams, like the Bills, for instance, who we just talked about, like you can almost cross off the Colts, I have a feeling, because they have such a brutal schedule down the stretch, too, for Riley Leonard and this team to play. A team that was already kind of showing signs of declining.
Yeah, and it started with the run game with them. It was the biggest crack until, Daniel Jones broke his leg and was trying to play through that. Entering the game was their run game. That was really struggling. In all of their losses this season, teams have held Jonathan Taylor for 86 yards or less. And this game was no different. Now, the Jaguars' defense, I want to say, it wasn't just that they were playing lesser quarterback competition. They played really, really well. It started with Devin Lloyd, who picked off Daniel Jones on Daniel Jones's very first pass from scrimmage, which, you say omens and signs all the time, Greg. This was a big one. And they swarmed to the ball, and they covered really well, and they just were relentless. They ended up taking the ball away 3 times, including forcing a fumble on a Jonathan Taylor carry. And like I said, bottled up the run game really, really effectively. And that's where I think this Jaguars defense has improved. But Riley Leonard did not play poorly, in my opinion. The statistics, I think he played better than what his statistics showed. And they show that he was 18 of 29 with no passing touchdowns, or rushing touchdowns, and of course the interception. But he made a couple of really tough throws. He showed that he wants to push the ball, that he understands how to run the offense, that he can push the ball and he can create out of structure, which he did a couple of times. He made a couple of really tough throws, including a possible pivotal throw, which really was one of 2 moments that could have helped get the Colts back in this game. That was a touchdown that was called back to a very suspicious penalty. And there were calls on both sides, guys, before I get it in my mentions, but that was a tough one, because you could see the Colts defense really kind of turned to Riley Leonard after he made that would-be touchdown pass, and they were like, all right, we got a chance. And they ended up forcing a stop on the other side against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags offense that had a really, really good game today.
Yeah, the design success rate for the Colts, 34.8%, and it's been falling in recent weeks. And that's I think what's gonna maybe get forgotten in this Colts season, that unfortunately the 7-1 fall was happening before these injuries. Now, I mean, it's crazy to think about. What are they? They're 8-5, so they've won, one game since that great start. And let's give the Jaguars some love.
Yeah, I would love to, because
Team Trev. It's a good day for Team Trev.
I'm so hard on Trevor Lawrence. I own that, and I recognize that, and I am always lamenting the roller coaster that is the Trevor Lawrence experience. But he took care of the ball so well today, Patrick, in a downpour. It looked miserable in Jacksonville. It rained buckets the entire time, but he took care of the ball. He didn't turn it over. He ran a couple of times, including a sneak. It was really important for the Jaguars, and he made a couple of really incredible throws, including this video that I would like to present to you both. I know, and it's me doing it as a possible throw of the year candidate, because this is a pouring rain throw right here to Tim Patrick down the sideline, and you see the water dripping off the camera lens. So it's Trevor rolling out, throwing on the move down the sideline, doing so on the move as his body's floating away in the pouring rain. Now, I don't know if it wins throw of the year, but it's Trevor.
It's not going to win.
No, of course, but it's Trevor.
But it's nice to be nominated.
It's Trevor Lawrence, who I feel like I owed a nomination to at least one time during the season. I've been pretty hard on him.
I think he's playing his best football the last couple weeks.
And like that, a throw where Trevor Lawrence can make it look routine by making the right decision at the right time, getting the ball to come down in the right spot to Tim Patrick, where when he makes it look easy, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, anybody could have done it. But when Trevor does that, that's when everything is working great.
Yeah.
And we saw like the fully implemented design for BTJ as well, who's catching deep balls on the sideline, doing what Brian Thomas Jr. is supposed to do, out on the edge. And, it's fully assembled to this point where ETN in the run game, especially taking advantage of those early Colts turnovers, the one from Jonathan Taylor, which was backbreaking in hindsight, because Dimes just goes down And I'm sure Jonathan Taylor thinks, yeah, I got to grind out every single yard, and he's trying to reach for an extra when the ball gets poked out. You can credit the Jags defense from that. And Devin Lloyd has continued his, DPOY candidacy after missing a few games. He comes back, he gets dimes again with the play. He's got almost every quarterback they've played this season lining up right at the line of scrimmage, dropping out, hiding behind the line, and popping up for another pick. He does it all.
What a ride this Jaguars team has been on. Like, they started out hot, and then they don't look great before the bye, and suddenly it just felt like it went from messy fun to just messy. And now they're at 9-4. Everyone's contributing. ETN with a long touchdown run. You mentioned, I know it slowed down a little bit later in this game. And yeah, we've kind of wanted to see Trevor click with Liam Cohen. That's been the one thing we haven't seen. I thought he had his best game of the season last year. Yeah, you can play well even if it's the Titans. And I think what he showed on tape was good last week. You could see how fired up Liam Cohen was on the sideline. And he was a little fired up after the game, too.
When you have a team that feeds on disrespect, how does that continue to go when maybe the respect starts to come, which might be where you are right now?
I don't know if we'll ever really get it. So that's the beauty of it. It ain't coming. You know that. It's not. So, and that's the beauty of it. And that's totally fine.
All right. He's putting that chip on his
from
back.
Massachusetts?
Maybe. I don't know.
Hey, we get no respect there.
The chip is on the shoulder. The Jaguars are 9-4 currently, the 3 seed. And talk about no respect. They haven't allowed the Indianapolis Colts to win a football game in Jacksonville since 2014. That's 4,102 days, according to our friend John Shipley. That includes some pretty garbage Jaguars teams over the years.
Who's the leading rusher in that game for the Colts?
Trent Richardson.
Also, Liam Cohen, hello. We named the Jacksonville Jaguars the messy fun team of the NFL Daily podcast, which I know your organization is aware of. So hello. The disrespect is not in the building over here.
That's kind of like backhanded compliments, but if I'm them, I would take it as respect. At least we're talking about it.
We had a blast with that episode.
Absolutely.
Unlike somebody else that's sitting at this table, I picked the Jags to win this game. So
I know.
The respect is all.
It was a direct comment toward Gregg Rosenthal. I understand everything.
I'll take that out because I think they were winning this game whether Daniel Jones finished it or not after watching that. Okay, so that's who's atop the AFC South. Let's see if we found any separation in the great NFC West.
New possession in plus territory. Short set, a ball fake. He wheels, he deals, jumping at the 5. It's Puka again! On one play, a 31-yard strike. Puka Nacua with a new career high in touchdowns.
Wow.
Thanks for playing, MJD.
Yes.
I'll see you in the film room in like an hour or so. Watch that Sunday Night Football game. Yeah, that was the Puka Nacua drive. 1 catch drive, nice and efficient. It was the Puka Nacua game. 7 catches, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Much of those in the first half. Almost felt like, Patrick, he was trying to top himself. Like, oh, you thought that catch was good? How about this catch? The Rams win 45-17 in a game where Stafford got to just chill for a lot of the fourth quarter.
And I'm glad that he did. It's always a couple drives longer, or I start to complain about it early because this one was out of the question to the point where I'm arguing with Next Gen Stats because there was a couple of Stafford throwaways targeted that get credited as a target towards Puka Nacua, where I don't think they should count because he caught everything as he has for the past few weeks. He was spectacular. If you get a chance to watch this game and you're worried about the score, it's worth it just to see how Puka was playing. The start of the fourth quarter was Jimmy G in the game because the offense for the Rams was averaging almost 9 yards a play. Stafford does retake the lead in the conversation as the Patriots were on a bye. So I'll get a full score update coming out probably on Monday night. But the Rams defense is what made this one laughable. They pressured Brissett on 48% of his dropbacks. He completed less than half of his attempts when he was under pressure. The offense looked disjointed and clunky for the vast majority of the afternoon. He was -6 in terms of completion percentage, over expected. So he was under expected in terms of that stat on the completion percentage. Michael Wilson in that one role where he can play because there was no Marvin Harrison Jr. there, but it's scarcely difficult to call this one a football game. And late Corum had a long touchdown where I wondered if that was the beginning of the end of the Jonathan Gannon era, Greg.
I think that was the longest Rams touchdown of the season, actually. They don't do a lot of explosive running, but Blake Corum really, in the blocking on that. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, like we keep hearing, Gannon's safe and Monty Austinfort's safe. They're showing Monty Austinfort in the owner's, booth, sitting next to
It's a good place to be.
Bidwell. It is, so that makes me think he's more likely to stay. But I've just seen this enough. We've seen this over and over in the years where insiders say these guys are safe or they're trending, they're not going to be in trouble at all. And that's early December. And then they get their teeth kicked in. And then there's another week and they get their teeth kicked in again. And then there's another week. And it's like this month, it's a long way to go. It feels like the Cardinal season is over, but they got to play 4 more of these games and they keep getting embarrassed. It's hard for them to make a case if it continues to go like this, especially in this division where he's had a chance now year 3 to kind of show, okay, what can I do defensively against these teams? And everyone's putting up a 40 burger on him. The 49ers are, the Seahawks are, and now the Rams are. But yeah, you mentioned the run game, Patrick. They go for 249 yards on the ground. I don't think it's like a secret weapon, but I think if the Rams win the Super Bowl, and I think they have as good a chance as any team in the league to do it, their running game is going to be one of, if not the biggest reasons why.
Yeah, it looked great today. And again, the Cardinals caveat, although in defense of Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals, the close losses did pile up over the course of the season. It hasn't been like this. It has gotten there late, but it was, whether it was Williams, whether it was Corum, whether it was Ronnie Rivers late in the fourth quarter.
Shout out to Ronnie
Shout
Rivers.
out to Ronnie Rivers, who had a lot of garbage time today because there was a lot of it available. Nasty.
Well, partly
because
because
of my games today, by the way.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I was thinking that your games early had some blowouts too, but then you got the good one late.
Oh,
with
I
the
got
Bears.
the great one.
You got the great one.
This was back to the 13 personnel way that we've seen from Sean McVay, which is fascinating. I've been talking to some people around the league about this over the last couple of weeks, and there's this theory that's being played out, and I think we're just going to need a lot, more data from the entire season to just see kind of what matches what, but that it's so easy for him to skip right over 12 personnel and go directly to 13, not just because he has the tight ends to do it and the skill level of the tight end position to do it, even without, even guys banged up, but it's a lot of the same 11 personnel concepts and route patterns that is just being run out of a heavier personnel. And when they go against a defense that is a little bit more of a matchup-based defense, so Jonathan Gannon scheming a matchup week by week, which we know he tends to do, this is their version of just loading up and what other teams say, we'll load up and run the ball down your throat. This is their version of it, except they keep their passing game open as well because of what their tight ends can do and what Puka Nacua can do.
Yeah, I saw Sarah Barsop with ESPN said they had more, 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field in the first half of this game than any game all season. So they loaded up, they pushed them around. It was nice to see their pass rush get after it again. They had 9 quick pressures in this game, 1 million pressures in general. As Patrick mentioned, they've been a little quiet at points lately. And Nate Landman did his thing again with a crazy, awesome interception in the second half. I'm now going to put Babona on the mic for the first time in his show. And this is a legacy game for Babona. And I'm going to give you the decision, as we just talked all about these tight ends. Do you want the Colby Parkinson touchdown in the show, or do you think we should make up some time and move along?
No, you're going to play it because I cut it.
Play it!
Snap on 3rd and goal. Helmet high snap, looking left, throws middle. It's caught! It's a touchdown! Colby Parkinson! How about the Sean McVay flu game?
Oh, my God.
The head coach and play caller sick on the road in Arizona. 5 drives, 5 scores. Stafford surgical, and LA is blowing out Arizona.
That is awesome. It's a blowout when we spent the second half wondering, what was his sickness? Maybe it was the flu. JB Long knows all, and I like how spicy Chris got.
I just want to add.
Yes.
Sean McVay's not the only one who had a flu game. I spent the last 48 hours in bed.
There we go.
Came here.
There we go.
I delivered. Yeah, I've been kind of sick. I'm making Drew a little
Wow.
I mean,
nervous.
we haven't reached
Coughing all
halftime
the
yet,
time, yeah.
Chris. So don't.
A lot
spike
of
the
game
football.
left.
He's pointing at the scoreboard.
This is
Lot of game
Sean
left.
McVay 49ers
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah, I also shouldn't be too surprised because Chris is a Rams fan. Of course,
I know he's
got
decked
that
out. Of course,
highlight.
we played the highlight. He's got his cap and his jacket on.
Well, not everything was happy in Rams fandom today because they had to watch the Seahawks put it on the Atlanta Falcons.
Shaheed, the deeper of the two, back on the goal line, and here comes the kick, end over end. Shaheed from the goal line, near right side numbers, up the field 10, 20, looking for a gap. He's got one. He's off to the races. Look out. This could be it. 50, 40, 30. They're not going to touch him. 10, 5. He looks back. Touchdown, Seahawks. What a way to start the second half. Kick the ball to Rashid Shaheed and say, go, baby, for 100 yards. And he does.
So the score was tied at that point, 6-6
Yeah.
at halftime. The final score was 37-9. We can go in a lot of directions here. I appreciate the great call by Steve Rabel here on KIRO. But how about we start this way?
Let's do it.
Raheem Morris got those 3 points by kicking a field goal when down 23-9 inside the 10-yard line on a 4th and 2. That's the most gutless field goal I've seen all year and the most pointless. What are you doing, Raheem? Let's give the Seahawks some love, actually.
It was a very, very sad field goal. And
the saddest. That was the saddest.
It was the saddest.
23-6.
That's
4th
the
and 2.
that's the clack, like what is it, the klaxon horn of field goal.
Ugh.
Wah, wah.
We will give that the 2025 sad field goal
Okay,
award.
thank you.
For the
I love
Falcons,
all
where
of our
it's a tale of two halves. That's the start of the third quarter, where the Falcons have somehow managed to have this a 6-6 ball game. Rashid Shaheed has that touchdown. By the way, the average length of Rashid Shaheed's touchdowns in his career in the NFL is over 50 yards. This 100-yard kick return definitely helps that, but consistently, because we're years into this, and he's still doing it. So after the game, Raheem Morris said that was a backbreaker. It cost the team the momentum. Kirk Cousins was asked about that and said, quote, "Who cares? We have to find our way back. You have to play your way back from that." So in honor of Kirk Cousins, the Falcons are officially eliminated. Other than my linkage to Terry Fontenot after putting him up there in the GM rankings, there's no reason to discuss Kirk Cousins and the Falcons anymore. So we'll honor Kirk's request and
Thank
keep
you.
this Seahawks essentially on the way. Although Bijan Robinson crossed 1,000 yards and Kyle Pitts had 90-plus through the air, let's talk Seahawks, because against man blitzes, against a defense that was the top pass defense in the NFL at one point, Sam Darnold had an interception in the first half, a rough first half, but this late season Sam kind of went away. In the second half, he had 3 touchdowns against man blitzes. There were 2 JSN touchdowns where he won that one-on-one battle with A.J. Terrell. And they got one quick pressure, did the Falcons on Darnold. The passer rating when pressured today was 127. So the folks that were watching this Darnold decline, it definitely went away. I understand, as Kirk Cousins says, who cares? But a much better game from Sam. Slinging Sammy today in a dominant Seahawks performance where they go on a 34-3 run to close it out.
Like, that is how the Seahawks play football, though. They have now this was a graphic during the show, 4 30-point halves this year.
Oh.
And I'm like, that can't happen too often. They've done it 4 times. The rest of the NFL combined has done it 6 times. So they explode, whether it's special teams, defense, or offense. But I do think on a day where they didn't run the ball too well, we kind of know their special teams and their defense is going to be good. That's not a surprise to me. I think they got to feel good to have such a positive Sam Darnold performance, where he did get Shaheed involved too as a receiver. Cooper Kupp gets a touchdown, and JSN gets back on the MVP track. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, JSN does get the points from this game with the 2 scores on the road, and so it's back in the positive in the conversation, but the vibes in general on the offense are on the way up.
Yeah, he beats A.J. Terrell like on a inside move and then dusts him on a catch and run early. That was their second touchdown of the second half.
Yeah, it was incredible. He had 5 passes on 7 targets when matched up against A.J. Terrell for 81 yards and a touchdown. According to Next Gen Stats, this is maybe the best team in football. 1 through 3, pick one and put them there, right? And you mentioned that
Who's 3?
Packers.
Okay.
Put the Packers there. It's cool. It's all NFC teams in my book, anyway.
I feel like
Okay,
because
I
of
say
body of work, I put the Rams and Seahawks above. But you're right. I think the
Seahawks,
Packers
Rams,
gets in there.
After
I agree.
today, yeah, what that defense did today. I think, first of all, great for Sam Darnold. This is exactly when you want your quarterback playing some of his best football, especially problem solving against some of the pressure. Look, you know that Jeff Ulbrich did not make it easy on him with some of the blitzing that Atlanta likes to do. And also, you mentioned, Greg, that the Rams were probably really sad watching the Seahawks cruise, but they got a draft pick that
Good
they're
point.
watching a little bit closer than that, I think. And Atlanta is giving them a pretty high value first round pick.
Atlanta right now is projected, according to Tankathon, for the number 9 pick. That trade looking better and better. Since I didn't watch this game, really almost at all, Patrick.
Okay.
I do want you to tell me something you found interesting about the Seahawks' defensive performance against your guy, Kirko, other than the fact that they were covering a man named Dylan Drummond who had 4 or 5 catches.
Yeah, and David Sills also getting back in the game in this high-flying Falcons offense where they had Nicky Manwari matched up, and I know Kyle Pitts had a great game, but really allowing Nicky Manwari to get involved in man coverage against Kyle Pitts, it's 2 incredibly large, fast, gifted athletes, and Pitts got the better of them on, honestly, Kirk Cousins' best throw of the game. But to have that amount of faith in the rookie, because it was still a game at that point before the second half offensive explosion, where I know that there's the rookie wall theorizers out there, but you get Nicky Manwari in these situations where they're able to provide pressure from so many different places. It was the vintage Seahawks where we haven't been concerned with the defense, but just in the deployment of the talent that they have available, it's a really good squad.
3 more quick pressures from DeMarcus Lawrence, who's turning this from like a great story to just like, is he an all-pro this year? Like he is getting into that with just one of my favorite players of the last decade. And I loved hearing Jackson Smith and Jigba after the game saying, yeah, Nick Emanwari was that guy in practice that he's been picking on all year because he thinks he can be special, but that he's kind of put an X on his back. I'm going to make you better by trying to embarrass you in practice. And now he's out there just balling as a rookie. So the Seahawks take care of business. Would another division leader who was playing today, the NFC South leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers, do the same?
Again, the new right tackle is Sherman. Shook. Oh, here they come up the middle. He got away from one. He got away from Vea. Here he goes.
No
Galloping.
way.
Touchdown. His second touchdown run today. Shook from 13.
Kevin, how he got away from that?
That was amazing.
Yes, it was the best in the game.
I do not know. I do not know. Great job there by Kevin Harlan and Trent Green with an excellently timed question. And, oh, wow, that boy can move. Tyler Shough was the difference in this game. On the ground and not making many mistakes through the air. There was that one interception. 7 runs for 55 yards, 2 touchdowns from Shough on a day that was played in a driving rainstorm for much of the game. Jordan's given me a curious look. Why are you giving me such a curious look?
You know, Greg, it's just because I'm just so confused, you know, because all I heard from you leading up to the draft and then after the Saints drafted Tyler Shough was that he runs from pressure. He spazzes out against pressure. He fritzes. So on that play, it looked like he navigated pressure and then like didn't run backwards, right? Or get moved backwards. Like I'm just making sure I'm seeing it.
He has done a great job using his feet. This game might not be the best spot for that. Negative 20% completion percentage over expected when under pressure.
So much better.
Holding on to the ball, taking sacks. But I don't want to rain on that parade. It was raining so hard. That hurt the passing game in general. And you said it. Like these, they basically were giving him the Taysom Hill plays. There was a design run in the first half for a touchdown, and his ability to play well late in the fourth quarter and his ability to run has been a total game changer for this offense, and he's looked better each and every week.
And it makes me kind of look back to that last season at Louisville where he breaks his leg in 2023. He's coming back. He's trying to play. He's already a little bit older through this process, and I'm wondering, if our evaluation of Tyler Shuck was based on early coming back from that broken leg and playing on it, trying to get a chance in the NFL, where you start with Spencer Rattler for the first few weeks of the season, and now this is the fully formed and fully healthy Tyler Shuck playing in a mud slop fest where, the passing numbers weren't great. They were better than Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah. And he had, a few like just zone passes over the middle to Juwan Johnson or Foster Moreau. He had a few dump offs where he got through his read that were good. He avoided, mostly big mistakes. But the plays that impressed me the most in this game were his 2 throws to Devon Vele late in the game where they are trying to kill clock. And Kellen Moore does show a little bit of faith in his young quarterback, calling for passes late while they're trying to kill clock. And he hits Vele for 13 yards on the sideline. Really nice throw. And he keeps doing that on a 3rd and 5. And that was a few plays after he did a very similar 3rd down completion to Vele. And it's like he's making those plays late in the game, whereas Baker Mayfield gets the ball back with all the time in the world, and they go 4 and out. And one of those 4 should have been an interception, but just was dropped by Jonas Sanker. And the Bucs go 3 of 13 on 3rd down and 2 of 7 on 4th down, many of which were runs. But it was another day where Baker was just not great under pressure, not great in terms of intermediate throws, just not great.
Yeah, he's really struggling, and you're starting to see some of the. They've had a very few games where their entire line has actually been completely healthy and complete. And obviously, Tristan Wirfs not being a part of this one as well is a factor. But yeah, he has not played good football for weeks now. And yes, part of it, you have to wonder how bad is the shoulder hurting him. And obviously, that's not the. I don't think that's the throwing arm of. No, it's still the pain of it and all of that. And
he ran really well today. That was probably the best thing he did.
Yeah,
that was good to see.
And he has to. If you can't. He's been such an inconsistent thrower. It's almost like he's trying to force plays. And in the early weeks of this, when I guess, in a way, he was still forcing plays and pushing the ball. It's just they were working. And so that was our particularly preferred brand of Baker ball chaos. And in this case, it's just not working. And I know I was being all tongue in cheek about the Tyler Shuck thing, but I think it's a cool testament, Greg, and we've talked about this, of like how a quarterback can change and grow up over the course of a season, and how a lot of times it's happening on a really bad football team and not a lot of people are actually watching it happen. But I know that you've been watching his tape really closely and understanding a little bit more about like how he is starting to actually handle what's coming at him pressure-wise, and seeing a lot of different types of it week over week too, because other teams are coming at him with that consideration of what they saw in college.
Yeah, this is a different test, and the Buccaneers chose to not blitz almost at all in this game, and it made sense because they still got a lot of pressure, but like we said, he handled it pretty well for the most part. I do feel bad because early in the day I just send notes as we're doing it, and I did have a Watoti nominee from Chuck, which was interception. So
I love it.
But it was more of a
keep him humble.
It was more of a miscommunication. It's just his receivers stopped on the route, and Olave read it differently, and I don't know who was at fault there, but it's always just funny when you just throw the ball and there's no one else in the area.
I love a Watoti. I do.
He played great though.
Yeah, we've seen both Lamar and Mahomes have fumbles this year, where they try to get the check swing and the ball comes out. That's the one where you see why it happens, because Shuck he sees the receiver stop, but he's already in his throwing motion.
Already gone.
Oh, just lay this thing out here.
And look, I know the Saints might have messed up their draft standing for a little bit right now, but the big takeaway here is obviously that the Bucs lose this game. They're still in first at 7-6, now tied with the Panthers. 2 games left against the Panthers.
And the Panthers sitting at home and watching, and a guy who's got a chance to be the offensive rookie of the year in Tedero McMillan, watching a fourth quarter Emeka Egbuka out and up, where Baker actually does get him the ball, and he stone hands it right there in the end zone.
Tough day for
where it's down the stretch for Egbuka. It's been nasty.
It's tough. It's been one big drop a week, enough where I think it's impacted his rookie of the year chances for sure. It doesn't mean they're over, but that ball was maybe like a little high and like a little hot, so it wasn't quite as easy as it looked when they did show the replay. And I do have to repeat, most of this game was played in the most disgusting conditions. It was all mud. Everyone's uniforms were insane. There's giant divots in the ground. The reason why the Bucs went 2 for 7 and 4th down is they kept going for these 4th and shorts in spots where it made sense. And you just couldn't get any push, the traction. It was disgusting.
There was
in a great way.
There was no baking.
Mm.
And as we head into a break, a teaser. Also very little cooking Sunday.
It is not not a lot of baking. Let's take a quick break as Jourdan teased. And yes, we'll come back on the other side. Little Jets, Dolphins.
First and 10 at the 12-yard line. Pitch it to A-10, left side. Trying to get around the court. Comes it back in. 10-5. Touchdown, Dolphins.
Patience and then the great burst once the blocks were set up to take off and get in the end zone. Man, the Dolphins are having fun.
Sounds like it. Dolphins win in the Meadowlands, 34-10. That was Jimmy Cephalo. Joe Rose maybe in the mix on WBGG. Devon Achane, been one of the best players at his position in the entire NFL. Unfortunately got hurt in this game. Before the break, you made a great pun. That's what Jourdan does, referring to a man named Brady Cook. And it went over my head in the moment. I was thinking of those goofy...
So did a lot of the passes.
Yeah. Brady Cook comes in for an injured Tyrod Taylor, and that was kind of all she wrote. In a game that the Miami Dolphins were dominated on offense even before that.
Yeah, well before Tyrod Taylor left the game with a groin injury. 2 consecutive early scoring drives, spearheaded by Devon Achane, who had an incredible start to this game, left with a ribs injury, and then Mike McDaniel said post-game that they held him out for the rest of the game, mostly out of precaution. He could have returned if it was a crucial game. He was already at 93 yards, including a touchdown, and just looked magical. And this game was so out of hand that when Tyrell Dodson made a great play on a Tyrod Taylor throw, a little Tyrell on Tyrod violence there. He corralled the ball between his knees to come down with an interception, and then the Dolphins scored on the other side of that. So it was 21-0 in the first quarter, and the Dolphins had 178 yards to the Jets' 18 yards, and then Brady Cook came in a little bit later. Overall, the Jets scored 10 total points, and all of them were on special teams.
Oh, man. Yeah, Isaiah Williams getting it done for this Jets team.
Second punt return touchdown of the season.
Yeah, and it was nice, too. He earned it.
We weren't familiar with Brady Cook's work before this, Patrick. Did you go to school? Did you learn anything?
Well, we were actually on that drive of the highlight on Game Day Live, and Tyrod goes into the locker room, and there's a player running out on the field wearing number 4, and I'm telling Steve, I'm absolutely not Googling who Brady Cook is right now because I was behind on my SEC, down the standings, Missouri quarterback. I was not aware of Brady Cook, and if I was, I had forgotten he existed prior to today.
It was part of a trend. This was the first week since week 8 of 23, which is October of 2023, when there was more than 4 non-first round quarterbacks playing, much less at the same time, much less all in the early window. But I don't want to take away what's happening in Miami. They have gotten a little lucky, frankly. Not just that the schedule's been easy, but they had close wins against the Saints and Washington. And if I'm going to knock them for needing kind of a lucky play here or there to win each of those games, we should give them some credit for just destroying the Jets, sweeping the series. What did you like watching the Dolphins today?
I liked everything about their offense. I'm not kidding. I know what their season is, but I have to say, since the start to the season, Mike McDaniel, I think, is coaching one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. And so is Anthony Weaver. And the tandem really, really works. And I know people could hear that and groan, but go watch the games because this scheme, he is doing things that are freer in a sense that this is what you thought he was going to do when he took over the job. And I think a lot of times coaches start coaching into the ecosystem, and you heard a lot of stories about players kind of doing whatever they wanted. And there was maybe some voices in the room that were encouraging those types of things that aren't there at this moment. And so it's one of those things where it's clear. It is so clear.
Tyreek Hill's like, just say my name.
Well, they moved on from Jalen Ramsey, who know that I am a huge fan of as a person and a player, but also like it gets tough sometimes, especially when you're losing. And so Mike McDaniel, even despite the fact that they've had some real stinkers of quarterback games, you can see that this scheme and the way that they have these guys playing together and fun and trying things. He's got these 2 tight ends working in a way where they're working every single angle of the field, including like retirement home Darren Waller. They're working every leverage point and angle in the passing and the running game on the field. They've got someone really, really special in Ollie Gordon who can come in and spell and needed to today at running back. Mike McDaniel is having so much fun that he's got his drawstrings around his hoodie tied like a bolo tie. Like, this is the guy that we remember years ago coming in and putting up massive scoring games against some of these defenses. And I think they're doing a hell of a job. And I want to give them props because I feel like a lot of this season, and rightfully so, we're thinking this guy's out the door. I don't think it's crazy to talk about him possibly keeping this job at this point.
No, we got to find out who the GM is. We got to see how it ends too. They have the Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, and Patriots, so they'll be able to write their story. They did get to that point I've been talking about for a month, that you can see a scenario where they get to 6-7. They're playing a meaningful game. It's a Monday night game against Pittsburgh. The problem is in the AFC, they're still 2 losses behind, so they still need to run the table. Look, they're testing the bounds of how little production they can get out of Tua Tagovailoa and still win a game.
Yeah.
He goes 12 for 23 for 157 yards. I think that was last week. This time it's 13 for 21 for 127 yards.
Yeah,
they win the game, and they haven't topped 200 yards passing in a month. But they get the win, and they're feeling good. It's always going to feel better when you're on a 4-game winning streak. Let's go to Minnesota, where there's a team that needed to feel a little better, and they were after Sunday.
4th and goal from the 2. Hawkinson in motion to the right. McCarthy back to pass. Fastball right. Caught. TJ bounces off Commanders. Touchdown! TJ Hawkinson with a tough guy touchdown. And the Vikings lead 30-0.
Tough guy touchdown by Paul Allen on KFAN. Well, you see like the injured Commanders defender just trying to recover from what TJ Hawkinson was throwing at him. I love that O'Connell went for it there on 4th down, let his quarterback try to get his 3rd touchdown of the day, and he did it. The Minnesota Vikings got shut out last week, and they win with a shutout today, 31-0.
They get revenge against the Bagel. Welcome back, J.J. McCarthy, who really stepped in to all 3 of these touchdown throws, 2 of them to Josh Oliver. The first one comes up the seam against the Commanders defense that we had seen some improvement with DQ calling plays, and they were in games. They were not in this one. They get Jaden Daniels back. He goes 9 of 20 at a bit of a theme where he leaves the game with an injury to the same elbow he just comes back from, because he gets a huge hit on a play where Andrew Van Ginkel does Andrew Van Ginkel. And it's the Brian Flores defense suddenly materializes. And these are the plays that we're used to seeing them make, where AVG looks like he's going to have another pick six. His problem is he's not as fast as Terry McLaurin. He was looking around to see how he was going to get caught, and Scary Terry comes back and gets him. But then Marcus Mariota comes in the game. He's trying to force the ball to Zach Ertz. He gets high load, and he leaves the game with a knee injury. You saw the injury on the touchdown to TJ Hawkinson, where it just goes bad to worse for the Washington Commanders. They get eliminated officially now mathematically. Greg, you don't have to worry about them being on any graphics. Not sure that was going to be a concern after this one either. But the Vikings do still have an outside mathematical chance.
They have not been eliminated. Falcons, Commanders, they were. And it's a bummer to see Daniels leave with an injury. After the game, Dan Quinn indicated that Daniels could have come back in, and we'll see about next week. Zach Ertz, unfortunately, it sounds like he tore his ACL. They said it doesn't look good. It wasn't confirmed, so you hate to see that for anyone, much less a veteran like Zach Ertz. And yeah, Mariota comes in and throws an interception on his very first throw. JJ got more help today. He obviously was more under control. I don't know what you saw, but he also gets a running game 50% success rate. They rack up yards on the ground, and the defense plays like the Vikings can play defense. What did you see out of JJ?
Well, a player, again, a very young quarterback, still learning things. The overstriding critique does remain. You get those big steps, but when you have space in the pocket and he's making those throws on time, where a couple of weeks ago, prior to the concussion, where it was late, he had guys open and he wasn't hitting those throws. He hit them this time. And that's the up and down experience you're going to have, I think, with a young quarterback, where we've seen this really intense long-term viability conversation about this 23-year-old quarterback up and down all season long. And I think we're going to hear it probably for the next couple of seasons, but you saw the growth today.
Well, he could quiet it down.
And I think Max Brosmer's performance definitely helped set people's expectations.
That did too. And then there was this week where like every question, every press conference is about how simplified the offense is going to be, and they're dumbing it down or what. I don't know what they did, but if they can have a good month, that will be great for everyone involved. And I'd like to see Jourdan Daniels. Like you don't want to see him get hurt. I'd love to see him either, I don't know, not play or play well, because it has been a little bit of a story here. When he's played this season, it hasn't gone how they would like, and Dan Quinn said they weren't lost anymore. They're lost again.
Well, yeah, I think multiple things can be true here, which is they maximize to such an admirable length Jourdan Daniels' stellar rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
And then they waited too long and assumed that they could just return all of this and it would still continue to be this way. But football, as Patrick likes to say, it's a spheroid, and it bounces all different ways in terms of your injury luck, and especially has this year for the Commanders. And they got older along the way, and they got worse along the way, and they got more banged up along the way. And so it's kind of one of those age-old adages, right, in football, where do you wait until it's unquestionable that you need to rebuild lots of parts of this roster, or do you do it before you get to that point and then hurt some feelings along the way? I think they chose the former, obviously, and now they're going to have to do some cleanup.
And unfortunately, they're going to be part of our lives because they're on a Saturday, big game for the Eagles. There's 2 games against the Eagles remaining. They're on Christmas against the Cowboys. So we will be watching this Commanders team. We will be tracking them, and we will be saying thank you to the tag team of Claybon and Jourdan Rodrigue jumping off the top rope and winning a WWE title. I don't know. Thanks, guys.
No problem, Greg.
Let's go to Las Vegas. Shookie's going to be joining us.
The flying elbow.
Chip Kelly's down.
Coverage sack for the Broncos. 5.5 sacks now for John Franklin Myers.
Driving kick, Mims on a gallop from the 48. Marvin in trouble, steps out of a tackle, and here we go. Marvin's loose, pushed through a Raider down the sideline. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Marvin Mims.
That was Dave Logan on KOA. When the offense isn't quite getting it done, there's a whole third element of football, Shook. It counts. And Marvin Mims made it count with a big punt return touchdown that gave the Broncos a 14-7 lead against the Raiders. They win 24-17 in a game that didn't feel that close. It was 24-7 with just a couple minutes left before the Raiders tacked on some points. A take it care of business game by the Broncos. What did you find most interesting from the Broncos' point of view in this one?
I mean, Bo Nix is slowly but surely becoming more consistent. And we saw, when they played Sunday night against the Commanders last week, it was an inverse Bo Nix game where he was good early and didn't have a good fourth quarter. Well, he had pretty much a good game all throughout. They converted a number of third downs in this game. I mean, they went on 3 different drives. This is crazy. 14 plays, 81 yards, 8 minutes and 54 seconds. That's their first drive, touchdown drive. Then they go on a touchdown drive in the second half where it's 14 plays, 86 yards, and they take up 9 minutes and 13 seconds. The last scoring drive took up 10 minutes and 17 seconds, and it's because they were able to stay on the field by converting third down. So, I mean, he was consistent throughout the game. He made a lot of good throws, sharp throws, a little bit, under pressure or needs to get it out. Made a no-look throw. Seemed like every situation, this is very typical of Raider games, but it felt good to watch the Broncos do this against them because you have so much, worry about whether Nix can be consistent or not. It's just every third down, every situation in which you felt like they had him behind schedule. They might get a stop here. They didn't. And a lot of that was because Bo was finding guys open, giving them opportunities to catch and run and continue the drives.
The Raiders are one of the most DOA teams
I've
seen in a long time. And we'll get to the end of this game because it was hilarious. But to close the Broncos side of things, look, they have a 63% success rate. I know it's against the Raiders, but that's what you got to do. Build confidence. RJ Harvey had a crazy stat in this game that he had more successful runs or 10-play runs, I believe, according to Next Gen Stats, against an 8-man box than anyone in the NFL since Derrick Henry years ago. And so you're seeing RJ Harvey getting it done on the ground, and then you got your fullback, like Sean Payton style. Adam Prentice is getting off for a couple plays, and McLaughlin. And like those are just things that you like to see because Harvey is going to be a really important piece for them. They have a really difficult final month of the season where, yeah, you're the number 1 seed now. You're really going to be tested down the stretch. You're going to need that running game.
Yeah, this is your last tune-up game because it's good that you went out and took care of business, but the next 4 games in your schedule are all against playoff teams or teams that are in playoff contention. It's going to get real difficult real quick, and you're going to have to be able to prove yourself. I do like the trajectory that the Broncos have been on as a team, including Bo Nix, just that they've been a little bit more consistent, a little bit, not predictable, but more reliable than they've been for much of this season. I hope that it's a precursor of good things to come. We're going to find out very quickly. And again, the Raiders are not a measuring stick by any means, but some teams like the Broncos who like to play with their foods, who once beat the Jets, 13-11 overseas.
Once beat the Raiders 10-7 or whatever that horror fest was.
Because this was not a 24-17 game. This was a 24 at best 14 game.
Okay, so Geno gets hurt late in the third quarter, I believe. Maybe like the last play just about of the third quarter. Kenny Pickett comes in, and the Broncos, who only had 6 drives in this game. That's crazy, by the way. I've never seen a lower number because I'm not counting the kneel down at the end of the first half with 3 seconds left. They only finished with 6 drives. That's crazy. They turn it over on downs, and that whole time, Pete Carroll is calling timeouts late in the game after Kenny Pickett, leads them to a touchdown drive with about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. He's calling timeouts to save time. Even though they're down 2 scores, they have no chance. I guess in theory, they could have scored like immediately and then kicked an onside kick. But then they get the ball back. At this point, it's 58 seconds left. They're still trying to save as much time as possible. And they get a delay of game penalty on a throw from Pickett, which stops the clock with about 5 seconds left. And what does Pete Carroll do, Nick Shook?
He sends out the field goal team with 4 seconds left. Now, there's logic to this. You'd think, all right, you try the field goal now, try to get the onside kick, except 4 seconds is the amount of time that it takes to kick a field goal. So as the ball goes through the uprights, Daniel Carlson starts to celebrate, and then he sees that there's no time left in the clock, and he does one of these half-hearted, point to the sky, well, I guess we did just score on the last second of the game in a game that didn't matter. Sure.
That is the all-time backdoor cover. If you were watching this game to get a penalty where Pickett throws it down the field, which stops the clock, makes it easier. They could have maybe had time to spike it, maybe not, to set up that field goal. But also, just Pete Carroll just trying to make his team look like they're competing and look better and have anything positive to say. That's why, my friends, it is dangerous to gamble, and why I'm glad, Nick Shook, we are not allowed to do so. But I will remember this because I'm trying to win for the 10th straight week on my picks show with Cynthia Freeland, and I had the Broncos -7.5. So that did hurt me in the heart, like it did many other
banged
people.
in a big spot. You can blame Brandon Jones for laying on the receiver and giving them that opportunity.
What a stupid team this Raiders team is. Just wasting our time. Let's go to a game that was not a waste of time, despite it including 2 teams that will be picking high in April's draft.
Judkins with Whitehart in the backfield. 2-point conversion to tie. Back to Quinshon. He's going to fake the reverse. He's got it. And now he may throw. Now he reverses field. Now he throws it back all the other way to the other side, and it's incomplete. Oh, my. What was that?
Oh, no. I love Andrew Siciliano. He's great when they win. He's great even if they fall short on a wild play. But Bona insisted. He wanted Siciliano's call. It was the better call. That's what we do. WKRK. The Titans survive against the Browns. Everyone's going to get on Kevin Stefanski for that play call, but it would have worked, right, Shook? I just think Judkins just didn't flip the ball. He just forgot.
Yeah, I think Judkins took that handoff. Well, it wasn't a handoff; it was a snap to him because he's in the Wildcat.
Yeah,
and they've been doing Wildcat near the goal line a lot, especially in the last few weeks. They did it earlier in this game to limited success. I think it was actually a loss on the first time they ran it. But I think he got the snap and took off to the right, and just adrenaline took over, and he completely forgot that he's supposed to pitch the ball in the reverse because he realizes it after the fact.
Yep.
And it's open on the backside, doesn't work out. Of course, you're right. Stefanski's going to come under fire. It's those who are going to cherry pick criticism are going to look at Shedur's stat line, which was solid, 23 of 42, 364 yards, 3 touchdowns. And they're going to say, why'd you take him off the field in that situation? I understand the call. It would have worked. It's not about taking Shedur off the field there.
How did Shedur look in this game? Because, I see a screen pass pops for a big play in the game, but also, a nice throw that ends up being a 60-yarder to Jerry Jeudy. Harold Fannin gets in. I thought the touchdown to Njoku, right? Early in the game, there was a 1-yard throw, but a nice toss and a really nice catch by Njoku was a sign of a quarterback making some plays. What did you think of Shedur in a losing effort?
Yeah, there were a handful of highlight throws. The one to Njoku was definitely one of them. It was a difficult throw. He was kind of off balance, and he put it in a perfect spot, essentially between 2 defenders, and Njoku makes a great diving catch. That's a positive. Another positive is the touchdown pass to Jerry Jeudy, not because he just threw a touchdown pass, but because he looked to his right and then came off of that point in his progression, moved to the next side, saw Jeudy coming open, and put it right on him where he could catch and run through the rest of the defense for a touchdown. It's a big boom for them because last week, Jeudy and Shedur were seen arguing on the sideline. So everything's all fine and dandy now because they hooked up for a 60-yard touchdown. Those were both 2 very good throws. The touchdown to Fannin kind of came in a weird set of circumstances near the end of the game. So he had his moments. He also ran for a touchdown out of desperation, but he also did the things that Shedur has done in his start so far, which is hold on to the ball too long, take an unnecessary sack, throw a prayer of a pass into traffic over the middle when you're under pressure and you're already holding on to it too long. That ends up getting picked off and kind of swings the game in the Titans' favor. So you take the good with the bad, and it's another very small step forward for him, I think.
So the Browns lose this game in part because they just could not stop Tony Pollard on the ground. He finishes with a season-best 164 yards. And I feel bad. We've had so few Titans highlights on this show that weren't just crazy Cam Ward plays in a losing effort. They actually won this game. And I've put a big asterisk this whole season over that Cardinals win. If any win in the NFL does not count as a win, they say a win is a win. I don't know if that Titans win over the Cardinals counts as a win. This counts as a win. So let's listen to a positive Titans highlight.
Conquo goes in motion. Pollard inside handoff. 25, 20, 50.
Goodbye.
10.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
That is a Titans touchdown. 32 more yards for Tony Pollard, and the Titans have the lead back.
Back and forth they go. I mean, this was a score fest, 31-21. That was Taylor Zarzer and Dave McGinnis on WGFX, and it shakes up the top of the draft a little bit. Right now, the Titans fall out of the top spot, and they are down to 3. The Browns are at 4. I think any chance Stefanski had to save his job. I don't think he has any chance to save his job anyways. I think he's out. But this is not going to help. Give me something on the Titans that you like to see.
I mean, I love the Tony Pollard got going because I'm a big Tony Pollard guy, and I feel like he's been in a rough spot with them, and they're inconsistent offensive line. He's making $7.25 a year, $1 million, and I just feel like he hasn't gotten the opportunity to really prove that he's worth that money. So it was great to see him pop off some big runs today, especially against the Browns defense that seemingly lost contained. Second level was a rough job for them, and so it's good for him to thrive. It was also a snowy day in Cleveland. Cam Ward only completed 50% of his passes. He led a very impressive opening scoring drive where he hit Iomana for a touchdown from 14 yards out to give them an early lead. He handled the pressure of the job, I think, pretty well. Ultimately, the Browns defense did cause some issues for him, so it was nice for Pollard to be that balance. But more than anything, I'm just glad the Titans played a complete game as a team. This is probably one of the best performances they've had this year, not just because it was only their second win. They just looked like a competent team, which is what I haven't been able to say that about them in a number of different games. And I feel good for guys like Cam Ward, who has too often been sent to the podium after a loss and had to explain why his team is terrible. Today, you were not terrible. Congratulations, Titans, on the victory.
Yeah, it's been a brutal year. Shout out to Jeffrey Simmons, who had 11 pressures in this game. 1.5 sacks, actually 2 sacks. I don't count half sacks. In my book, that is 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. So he was the best defensive lineman in a game that included Myles Garrett, who, by the way, had the lowest pass rush win rate, according to PFF, of his entire career. No, second lowest. He only had 1 pressure but it was a sack. So he moved forward in the race to break that sack record. He is 3.5 away. It's going to be tight, but he did get that one. Simmons, by the way, a couple run stuff too. He has been awesome. Probably an all-pro this year, which is crazy considering he's on the Titans. Let's take one break, but Shook, you're staying with me. We're going to wrap up. I said at the top of the show, we had 6 massive games that would really shape these playoff races. We got one more to go. It's Texans, Chiefs.
Ten from the Chiefs, 8-1 back. It's Hunt. Mahomes to throw. 4-man rush. Mahomes unloads downfield and tipped and intercepted. Azeez Al-Shire has it up the deflection. Another pick. Third of the game for Houston. Wow. Kelsey could not hang on. Azeez got it. Hot potato pick. And the Texans have the ball in Chiefs territory again.
And that time, the Texans would take advantage with a game-sealing Kaimi Fairbairn field goal. The Texans win 20-10. That was Mark Vandermeer on KILT. And what we might have seen tonight, Shooky, was the end of the Chiefs' dominance over this conference, at least for this season. But I wanted to start with that play because it's about a Texans defensive performance to really top all of them that they've had this year. In the fourth quarter of this game, the Chiefs had the ball 5 times. They had 1 first down, and that was on the garbage time drive before they just spiked it. Patrick Mahomes picked off 3 times. The ball's just a little inside there, but Kelsey could have made the catch, but he doesn't make the catch, and it's the Texans who are Johnny on the spot. What a fourth quarter. It was the last fourth quarter I expected, Shook, because at that point in the game, the Chiefs seemed like they were rolling, and I guess this is just how it ends for great teams. And yes, the Texans, maybe they could be a great team too. We know they have a great defense.
Kind of reminds me of the way the Patriots lost their last playoff game, the Tom Brady era, right? 2019 against Tennessee. I remember that being a similar, I don't know, go out with a bit of a whimper instead of a shout or an actual fight. Look, you're right. The Chiefs were dominating the Texans offense in the third quarter. I mean, Nick Haley seemed to have no answer for what Steve Spagnuolo was dialing up, to the point where I'm watching it laughing, like just chuckling out loud, because I'm thinking, how can you not anticipate these many blitzes that Steve Spagnuolo is going to send against your offense? Adjust. Guess what? They didn't need to adjust because their defense took care of business, forcing Andy Reid into uncomfortable situations, 4th down decisions. They got to go. They're deep in their own territory. Guess who doesn't get the first down? The Chiefs. Why? Because they ran to the Texans' fantastic defense, gives their offense a short field. They capitalize, and then they seal the deal. This is Texans football in 2025, baby.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Andy Reid made decisions that Andy Reid would not normally make.
Yes.
You could tell that they felt that they needed this. They needed to do something different. And the sequence you're talking about was so telling. They get a 4th and 1 situation. It was more like 1.5 after Mahomes just runs over Azeez Al-Shire. If Al-Shire had just tackled Mahomes in the right spot, they're punting there. I don't know how this game goes, but instead, Mahomes kind of runs him over. He gets about a yard short, and they decide to go for it on their own 31-yard line. But there's pretty quick pressure. The guys are ready on the interior, ready to stop Mahomes from possibly scrambling forward. He steps up in the pocket. It's an incomplete pass, and the Texans take over. And I do want to point out that sequence because you know what happened right after that is the Texans actually took advantage. C.J. Stroud pulled off a great 3rd down conversion, and then they ran the ball right down the Chiefs' throats to get the touchdown to go up 17-10. So as bad as the Texans' offense looked for parts of this game, and you're right, they had negative yardage in the third quarter. It was 128 yards to -2. They have had these little moments in the last 6 weeks where they look normal, and they don't look fully normal. But in the first half of this game, they put up 200 yards. That's pretty normal. And then in the fourth quarter, they at least had that one drive, and they did get a couple first downs before the game-sealing field goal where they're just good enough, and then they let their defense carry them the rest of the way.
Exactly. Their offense is not going to be the most adaptable, the most versatile that you're going to see. among teams that are fighting for a playoff spot this year. But that is fine, because when you couple that with an elite defense like the Texans have this year, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is buy them more opportunities and give them the short fields that they gave them tonight. And they're going to be in every game, which is why I have a lot of confidence in the Texans, why I think that this 5-game winning streak that they've put together is not a fluke. It is just indicative of a team that has a defense that travels and can play with anybody, and it can shut down anybody. I mean, look, I know the Chiefs have been going through it this year, right? This has been a struggle-filled season for them. That's how you end up at 6 and 7 at this point in the year. But I haven't seen their offense this flummoxed. Travis Kelce, this just speechless, mystified, has no answer for what's going on. Patrick Mahomes looking this despondent and, dare I say, dejected by the end of this game. Maybe ever. That's what an elite defense can do to a team like that in a big spot.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Jalen Petrie here. So in the first half of this game, the Texans play fantastic. They go into halftime leading 10-0. It was the first time Patrick Mahomes had been shut out since the AFC Championship game 3 years ago now. First time in the regular season since 2021. And part of that was Jalen Petrie and one of the plays on defense of the season.
2nd and 9 for the Chiefs from their 36. Pacheco in motion to the left as Mahomes takes the snap, looking, firing over the middle, tipped, and Petrie with the pick, a diving effort at the 45-yard line. Tips and overthrows, we got to get those, and the Texans get it, the deflected interception.
Great call, but when I think tips and overthrows, I think it almost like a lucky tip over the middle. That was a great pass defense by Petrie to get it up in the air and then to track the ball and actually intercept it himself, diving like a baseball player there was incredible. And you think about that play, and then you think about the hit that he had on Rashee Rice in the second half. I know you were loving that. It looked like Rice might have caught that ball. It's a first down to start the drive late in the third quarter, and he absolutely truck sticks him. So many good plays. I know you were loving this play, Shook, and I know you got to be loving Petrie, who to me I think cemented an all-pro slot position tonight with the performance that he had.
Absolutely. Nobody embodies this Houston defense and their swarm mentality more than Jalen Petrie. It's because of hits like that. That is a clean throwback football hit made by a defender who's out to let you know that you're not getting any free yards. I'm breaking up your pass attempt. I'm going to put you flat on the ground. You might ragdoll down to the ground like Rashee Rice did there. That's classic old school football. We don't see it nearly as much as we used to, for better and for worse. But tonight, Petrie set the tone with a hit like that. And I think, if anything on the national stage, Texans have been there a few times this year. They've been good in some spots. They've been bad in others. Tonight, that hit alone sends the message that everybody's going to remember when they think of these Texans defense now, which is, oh, we got to take them seriously. They must be respected because they can flatten us like that.
Well, you know who might have remembered it? You never know. 4th down, later in the fourth quarter, Mahomes knows the play is kind of collapsing, and he finds Rashee Rice, throws it a little early. It's a great throw, and Rashee Rice, like he's done a lot during this stretch run, just drops it. I'm not saying that the Jalen Petrie hit made him drop it, but he dropped it. And
I mean, yeah.
like, it just, the culmination of having to play this Texans defense, who's banged up at safety, but you think about the plays from the secondary. Kamari Lassiter with a great interception on what was kind of an arm punt by Mahomes in the second half to start that fourth quarter. Kamari Lassiter tracking down Tyquan Thornton on a deep shot where it looked like he was beat, but great makeup speed. They just got playmakers up front. And so on a night where the Chiefs were short 3 offensive linemen, like, obviously that played into Patrick Mahomes finishing 14 for 33. I can't believe I'm looking at that number. That played into Patrick Mahomes going 10 straight passes with an incompletion or an interception in the fourth quarter. Like, that was part of it. But man, I just think the Texans defense puts so much pressure on you just because of their talent, not because of their play calling necessarily, but because of their talent, and the Chiefs ultimately buckled.
Yeah, and I can give credit on both sides here, because I think that the offensive line absences, while they were a problem, it didn't look that much difference than what we've seen from the Chiefs for good portions of this season. Pole, the replacement at left tackle, I thought did a really good job for most of the night, much better than I anticipated that he would. But we've given the Texans all the credit in the world. Well, I'm also going to take a little bit of credit away, not intentionally, but just because this is one of those games with the Chiefs where they just didn't make the plays they needed to make. And this is the game where they didn't do the things that they've done so often over the last decade that has led them to success, that has led them to 3 Super Bowl triumphs, to all these appearances in AFC title games and winning the AFC West for a decade straight. They drop passes on 4th down. A lot of passes out of Mahomes' hand looked strange. A lot of nose diving out of his hand tonight, which I think hindered their ability to complete some of those passes in key spots. He was a little bit inaccurate at times. Didn't seem like he was entirely on the same page with some of his guys. You mentioned the interception off of Kelsey's hands. That was a bit behind him, just uncharacteristic of him. So that explains that stat line. I'm not surprised to see that stat line. But for those who have watched Patrick Mahomes over the course of his entire career, you'll look at tonight's performance, you'll look at those numbers and go, God, what did they replace him with a body double? That's not who he is. And that's what the Texans defense can do to you.
And he was their leading rusher. They decided not to hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt in that key 4th down situation. Ultimately, the 2 Chiefs running backs both finished with under 3.5 yards per carry, Hunt and Pacheco. And that the defense and Chris Jones was up for the challenge to start the 3rd quarter. But I do go back to that C.J. Stroud throw to Jaden Higgins on 3rd down, where Chris Jones looks like he's going to pull C.J. Stroud down, but C.J. Stroud evades it, gets the 1st down. Great throw. I thought just avoiding the sack would have been huge because they're trying to kick a field goal there. And instead, he gets the 1st down. They end up with a touchdown. That's a big-time play. And look, he had 8 straight incompletions at one point, too.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions were not good for throwing. It's freezing there, but he had a good first half, and he made enough plays down the stretch to win it. What a moment here in this season. They are 6-7, the Kansas City Chiefs, and they are going to need to win out. They're going to need to beat both teams in the AFC West, the Chargers and the Broncos, to have any chance to make the playoffs. They're going to need to get to 10-7, and they're going to need to get help. There's not a lot of reason to think they're going to do all of that. Tonight really felt like, when you're watching Patrick Mahomes with his hands on his head after one of those 4th down fails, like a moment in time, in part because the AFC is so deep this year. And I don't know if teams like the Texans are going to lose enough for the Chiefs to catch up.
It's all about catching fire at the right time. And the Chiefs, they hit their stride for a brief period, but that feels like ages ago. And I know it's shocking for us to consider a reality in which we go into a postseason that doesn't include the Kansas City Chiefs, but everything changes eventually. Nothing is forever in this league or in life. And I think the Chiefs are realizing that right now with everything that's happened. I'm not going to count them out yet. I'm still not going to bury them.
I know it's annoying. It is a little annoying. Like, this felt final, and yet you look at it, they're 2 losses behind the Texans, but now they're down the tiebreaker. They're going to really have to just win those division games, win out. It seems unlikely, but they'll be rooting Monday night while we're watching and doing our show. It's not going to be live on YouTube this week, but they'll be rooting against the Chargers because they need the Chargers to lose some games here down the stretch. And the Texans now at 8-5 for now are in the AFC playoffs, and they're looking at the other team that's 8-5 out of the wild card, like the Colts, and they're thinking, that next Colts game looking a little easier right now because of what happened on Sunday. Man, the season is a long one. We thought this Texans team was in deep trouble. They are full of badasses. I'm so
Who can they
impressed.
thank, Greg? Who can they thank for getting back here? Who started it all? Tell me right now.
Davis Mills.
Respect the neck.
I thought you were going to say Jourdan Rodrigue for picking them to make the Super Bowl before the season. It's still alive. In this AFC, everything's still alive. Before we go, you also want to know who's a bunch of badasses? Eric Roberts deserved to go to Buffalo and see his team win a big-time game. And so it really says a lot about Eric Roberts that he left the show in the hands of a very worthy group of men. It's not only Chris Babona who is doing it tonight. It's Abu Kamara. It's Devin Harris, like the whole group back there making it run seamlessly, maybe too seamlessly for Eric's hopes, you know. But it shows that he's building a coaching tree here, and they can run a top-shelf game, or at least recap anytime he's gone.
Can a producer get Wally pipped?
No.
Is that possible?
No. I don't like where this has gone. I did it. I'm sorry. Hit the music. We're so overdue to hit the music. But yes, thanks to Devin and Abu and Chris Babona and, of course, Jourdan Rodrigue and Patrick Claybon and my man Shook. Like I said, we're going to be recapping a really fun Chargers-Eagles matchup on Monday night. We're not going on YouTube this time around, so check that out in the feed. Can't wait for it. See you then.